like to call this meeting of the RTM Parks and Recreation Committee special meeting on Wednesday, June 5th, 7:30 p.m. in the Town Hall Auditorium. I think I have the attendance. So the next thing on the agenda is a joint session.
Let me open mine.
Oh, you got it. Okay.
Let me open mine. This is a
That's what I was going to do.
special session of the Public Works Committee to the RTM at 7:37, and I call this session to order. This is a joint session. We do have a quorum.
Okay. We have a quorum as well, so I'll let you take it away.
Okay. So tonight on both of our agendas, the first item is a discussion of the process used to retain a consultant for the Great Island Advisory Committee, and the to solicit a proposal, the proposals that were solicited, and the actual selection of a proposal. We're lucky to have with us today the chair of the GIAC committee, Monica. So what we're going to do is, I don't know, Monica, I think do you want to provide a brief overview or an overview of the process, and then from there, I've got some comments I'd like to add. As you know, I'm I'm vice chair and the RTM representative to the GIAC, and so I'd like to supplement whatever it is that Monica's going to present here with some of my personal experiences participating with this group on the GIAC, some perspectives and things of that sort.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening, or letting me join your meeting. I believe that the assignment was to kind of bring you up to speed on the whole process, from the RFQ to the RFP to where we are now to kind of where we are going. So I have a pretty, I think it's a pretty detailed kind of. Okay. The RFP process began in January of 2024 when the bid document was developed by the committee, and we had a lot of extra work done by Dan Kolakowski and Jeff and Kate and Ed. Our goal was to identify a landscape architecture firm that was skilled at leveraging Great Island and its structures to enhance community activities and facilities as outlined in the Town Plan of Conservation and Development and the Park Master Plan. Proposals for the RFQ were due on February 21st, and we had 16 firms respond. Each presented a comprehensive proposal that included company overviews, project understandings, and the qualifications of key and extended team members relevant to the project scope. In addition, the proposals highlighted case studies, experience in master planning for public agencies, budget and scheduling strategies, and the management of ecological impacts and regulatory approvals. Compelling proposals included innovative approaches to public engagement, recognition of the need to deploy a variety of possible funding strategies, and efficient governance planning. The committee valued these elements for their critical role in aligning the project with community expectations, securing sustainable funding, and ensuring project oversight. Selecting the final 6 firms was not easy. All of the proposals were very impressive, and we're really grateful for all of the effort and ideas that all of the firms provided. So while waiting for the RFQ proposals to be submitted, a ranking sheet was created by the committee. Members reviewed the 16 proposals and returned their rankings to me on March 11th. I then took all of the rankings and categorized them and returned them back to the members on March 12th. Members were also working with Kate and Ed to develop the RFP. On March 20th, the RFP was approved by the committee and distributed to the top 6 firms on March 21st. 97 questions were then collected from the consultants that were reviewing the RFP. Those questions were answered by Dan and Jeff and Kate and Ed and myself, categorized and disseminated. Bids for the RFP were opened on April 18th, with the dollar range for the master plan services, phase 1 and 2, ranging from $870,223 to $1,915,404. The next step was to review the bids and fee proposals and schedule interviews for the 4 finalists. We also drafted 16 questions that we would ask each one of the consultants, each one of the firms, so they were consistent during the interviews, which took place on May 1st and May 2nd. Each of those interviews lasted about 2 hours, and we had full committee membership at those interviews, along with Ed Gentile, Kate Bush, and our first selectman, John Zagrodzky. The next review.
Sorry, excuse me.
No, it's okay. Good? Okay.
Richard?
Nope.
Is Richard in here?
I think you're being on speakerphone in the auditorium. You probably don't want me to be doing that. Okay? Penny? Lost her.
Okay, so then following the interviews, each consultant, when they did the RFQ, they submitted 5 case studies. I asked the committee to divvy up the case studies, and each person did a review, a reference check on 2 of them. So we had 4 case studies per consultant that we did reference checks on for 16 case studies in total. The committee met and discussed on May 9th and May 15th, and on May 28th voted to recommend to the Board of Selectmen Reed Hildebrand as the master plan consultant for Great Island. The Board of Selectmen voted unanimously to approve Reed Hildebrand and Rendis and Mead as our consultants for Phase 1 and 2 of the project. The vision and master plan will establish a long-term vision for Great Island and includes public engagement, financial planning, governance model development, identifying funding sources for future capital projects, and managing operation and maintenance costs for year to come. So what is in this vision and master plan, these first 2 phases? Phase 1 is creating a vision plan, and that's estimated to take about 6 months. That will entail project familiarization, vision plan development, public and stakeholder review and input. Phase 2 is creating a master plan and concept design, and that is estimated to take anywhere from 5 to 7 months. That will have public outreach and review, pedestrian access and circulation, vehicular access and circulation, buildings assessment, site features, preservation, landscaping, hard and soft paving, site utility infrastructure, coastal areas, revenue generating activities, funding strategies, and governance structure, preliminary conceptual design plan and report, cost estimate development, phasing strategy, town approvals, final concept design and report. Those are in the first 2 phases. Phase 3 is construction document preparation services, and Phase 4 is bidding and construction phase services. So I have a few reasons for why I think we chose Reed Hildebrand, but Mark, do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Microphone.
Yes. Okay.
So Monica touched on the process that we went through, and I want to emphasize, I've been through a lot of projects over my life, and the deliberateness and the detail which with the RFQ matrix was put together, and then the RFP matrix was put together and used to consistently evaluate the 16 RFQs and then ultimately the 4 proposals. Proved very helpful, very, very informative. And then also what I found informative was, and I'll get to this in a moment, but the differentiator that stuck out with me and there were several. The first was in their initial presentations and also in the follow-up. Their external teams, many of these consultants had varying degrees of staff in-house, and as Monica touched on, many of them partnered with consultants. Monica rattled off a bunch of them. But what struck me was the professionalism, on top of the issues that both the folks in-house were and the folks external were. And many of the firms had gifted and talented people, but these firms and these individuals had local experience, either or, with projects that were similar, and I'll get into that because, as luck would have it, I happen to be one of the two people tasked with checking the reference for Reed Hildebrand. We checked 4 of the references. So having that local knowledge, and by local, personally what that meant to me was familiar with our commissions, the boards that they're going to have to go before, or that we're eventually going to have to go before, or the town's going to have to go before, the constituencies in town. Another differentiator related to those constituencies and the outreach. They use terms in their outreach. I want to find them because a couple of them were terms I'd never used before, but they involve things like workshops, meetings, and they have meetings. They talk about multiple meetings with multiple locations at multiple times to allow different constituencies to participate. I'm looking for the word they used. I'm sorry? I'm not familiar with that term. Community workshops, yep. So, what are some of the other differentiators? The fact that they had so many of the personnel or contractors that were local. And that was different. Not all of them had, as I touched on, the local presence. And to me, personally, that was important. They talked about having in-person interviews regularly. They emphasized day one, and they emphasized continually throughout the process, the early engagement. And so engagement isn't something that is just done for the first 4 weeks or so, but it's a regular engagement with the community in coming up with the concept and then the evolution of the concept. They emphasize that. Ecology. Many of the firms talked about ecology. They definitely had an emphasis from an ecological perspective. And they supported all of their presentation elements with live examples or past examples that were pertinent to our area. Many of the firms had plenty of experience, but it was either global in some instances, which was mind-boggling, or national, or not too relevant. And so that brings me to what swayed me in the end to differentiate between the top 1 or 2 firms, because there wasn't, in my opinion, a huge difference. And the differentiator for me was talking to the references. Kip Vesey and I were tasked, not knowing who was going to be selected, with speaking with, I think, reaching out to 4 of the projects and contacts that had been provided. And the feedback we got from that outreach was comments like, you get what you paid for, top-notch talent, and didn't run from a challenge when it came to engagement. I found that to be an interesting one, because a couple of the projects, one was in Hartford, one was a conversion of a 120-acre-ish site from recreation to town use, and had all sorts of different uses contemplated. And so a lot of constituencies were I won't say at odds, but wanted to be heard, and they had to navigate, and it was a very elongated process. But the comment we got from multiple of these references was that they're thorough, they're detail-oriented, and top-notch talent. And many of these references, for instance, one was with the city of Hartford, one was Boston, one was Hartford. So they've worked with other consultants before. So the differentiator in splitting hairs, if you will, was hearing the references, and the references really not just panning out, but going above and beyond to support the elements that we had all been grinding over for weeks. through the submission of the proposal, the interviews, site walks too, right? I didn't do the site walk, you did site walks with them, et cetera. So those were the main items that jumped out at me.
Boy, thanks, Mark. I was recreating a timeline and I forgot that the 6 firms also all visited the property, and they brought their teams with them. And you know, there was anywhere from 5 to 10 people on the tour of the property. So they did that before they submitted their RFP. So. As Mark mentioned, there were a number of things that were pretty important to the community, or to the committee, and one of them for all of us was community engagement. And they have a robust community engagement strategy to ensure that there are a diverse range of voices heard. As Mark said, there'll be workshops, there'll be informal displays, activities, focus group conversations, and a digital presence to gather and synthesize the community feedback.
Hey, Monica, I found the term, if you don't mind me interrupting. Deep listening and experiential engagement. Is that what you're looking for?
Ooh.
No.
Okay. That was exactly what Rolf was thinking. So when we continued to work with Reed after kind of deciding that they were the firm to go with, one of the things they did was stretch out that first phase to 6 months to accommodate the Darien calendar. And we're expecting, the goal is to kick off this community engagement phase July 15th that week and host the first community workshop the week of September 16th. And if you're like me, you're thinking to yourself, what is a community workshop exactly? Well, here's a little bit more about that. It will involve a combination of learning about the property, sharing scenarios for the future, and activities that will help residents evaluate the options for what could happen depending on how improvements and investments are organized. So ideally, they will take place either in Town Hall or on Great Island, and depending on how we're doing on parking, et cetera, down there. And each workshop, after each workshop, a summary of the material shared at the event will be published, and residents will then be surveyed about the ideas that are under consideration. And as I mentioned, in parallel, there'll be a digital presence that will be established, and a series of focus group conversations will be organized. These groups will be a little bit smaller and most likely will be held over Zoom. At this time, it looks like there'll be 5 focus areas of conversation: conservation and ecology, recreation and culture, revenue and partnership, infrastructure and operations, and governance and public funding. Another reason that we really were very in favor of Reed Hildebrand was because they had their financial advisory portion of their proposal was very strong. The firm's financial and planning consultant, JLP&D, will assist in developing pragmatic financing and governance strategies. This includes revenue generation strategies, programming options, and funding models to ensure economic vitality and to support park operations and maintenance. As Mark said, they assembled a team of leading Connecticut or close to Connecticut, Massachusetts, and New York, we're including those, all experienced in key issues like accessibility, ecological integrity, and maintenance. So team's experience ensures that Great Island's unique qualities will be preserved and enhanced. So those are kind of the high points for why we chose Reed. The 2 phases, phase 1 and phase 2 of their proposal, the fee was $1,661,555. We also are hiring Redness and Mead as a consultant to the town, to the committee, and to the consultant team. And that budget is $45,000. So after talking with Reed Hildebrand, we did discover some savings of about 18%, or $299,081. So their contract was reduced by that amount, which left it at $1,362,474. They also took a look at the services that Redness and Mead offers and reduced that part of their engineering budget by $20,000. So the Redness and Mead portion is really, you could look at it as costing us $25,000, not the $45,000. We added in a small contingency of $32,526 and a $5,000 line item for bond counsel attorney fees. So that puts the number that we will be putting forward, our final request, at $1,425,000. I want to stress that there were some components that were unchanged in this negotiation of the 18% reduction. One of them was the financial advisory budget managed by JLP&D, which remains the same, and the meeting schedule for the community engagement also remains the same. We still have the robust plan for workshops, displays, activities, focus groups, etc. So I think in closing that we are really excited. We have spent a lot of time on this, and the consultants that submitted their plans did an extraordinary amount of work. So the town of Darien is very, very grateful for everything that they provided. All of the firms, even though we could only choose one, and it was really hard. The last four, they were all terrific, really, frankly. But we also got really good ideas from some of them, so we will be taking them back to the drawing board with us. And I want to just take this opportunity to, again, thank the committee, thank your RTM rep, thank Jeff Table and Dan Kolakowski for all of their work they did on the RFP and RFQ. Those are residents in town that really spent a lot of time on this as well. So with that, what do you want me to do?
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
For doing that.
Okay.
So that's an overview of the first item on our agenda. I don't know if you had anything you wanted to add.
No, I just
related
if
to
anybody
that.
has questions, truthfully.
Yeah, I wanted to just add one more comment or anecdote, and that is, I project pretty well, and am I okay over here? I don't want to get on top of it because it reverberates. This committee, obviously I knew a couple of the folks who were elected officials when this committee was formed, but I did not know the four resident members, and I knew a couple of other members just by name. And this group, I've very much come to appreciate every single one of them and what they bring to this committee. Their perspectives are diverse. The folks that Monica mentioned, the four resident members, I don't know if they knew what they were getting into or not, but those RFQs that Monica mentioned, I don't know, Monica, they ranged from 40 to 60 pages to some of them were 160 pages. 200, right, because some of them broke out the fee proposal separate. And so when Monica assigned us all, I can't remember how much time you gave us to review it, but it was 16 books plus supplemental books with fees. No kidding, it was a stack like that. I think 2 weeks we had to review it, fill out a methodical grid as to what we thought about all those different points that Monica touched on, and submit them, and then you and staff, I guess, processed them. So those folks did a lot of work, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that, and working together to do that. So with that, if there's any questions that we can try to address, happy to. You probably need to go around that way so you don't trip over the cords. And just don't let me run long, because I know you have an agenda to get to, and so do I. But let's.
Okay, this is the important stuff.
Patrick Kane, District 1. I'm on the Public Works Committee. First of all, thanks to the Great Island Committee. I know that I've been trying to follow as closely as I can. I know you've done an enormous amount of work, so I'm personally very thankful for all of your efforts. My question is, in reviewing the Reed and Hildebrand proposal is that it suggests, well, there's two parts to my question. Suggests that we're looking at a schedule of about 12 months to develop, and the master plan would ultimately come out at about the 9-month mark is what they're proposing. More than that? Okay. My concern is, this is going to sound a little bit antithetical, but that seems awfully fast. And when we were all discussing this through the approval process of the RTM, the one common theme that I picked up anyway was that this was going to take time. We weren't going to be in a rush. We were going to try and get to know the property, and some of you have gotten to know the property very well. Access to the property is still very limited. And what I'm concerned about is that we develop a plan before the community at large has had an opportunity to really understand and digest and understand the property and what can happen. So I'm not sure that there's a question in here as much as there's a comment. I would implore the committee not to rush this. It's going to be, we've already spent or will be spending an awful lot of money to purchase the property. The estimates, which I know are all over the board, I just asked Monica about what this development plan could turn into. It's going to be potentially very expensive. I'm very concerned that we rush into it before the community. If we're asking the community to comment on what they envision this property should turn into, they have to have access. And parking at Pear Tree Point and having to walk up, and I'm not complaining about that, that's where we are, but we can't ask, in my opinion, we can't ask the community to start commenting on something that they don't have full access to. So I would ask the committee to try and be patient before developing a full-blown plan and make sure that we get as much community input as possible. So, again, not a question in there as much as a comment.
Thank you. Correct me if I'm wrong, Monica, but that term I use, experiential, I took to mean, and they explained it to be, seeing the site, experiencing the site. How that's going to be accomplished is TBD, but that's experiential engagement. They cited taking groups, the waterfront group, they talked about bringing different groups with different interests to see the site and get to know the site. So that's sort of in that direction. I don't want to speak more than that. That's as far as I know. But I know they've contemplated addressing that conceptually.
Patrick, I think that is a really great point. So this was stretched out a little bit more. Originally, this phase 1 and phase 2 was really more like a 10-month, and we stretched it out to a 12-month. But I ask everybody in town, we want to hear your ideas, but really be educated idea generators and go walk the property. And right now it's beautiful out. It's getting dark, so you can't go right now. But in all seriousness, please take a walk out there as much as you possibly can. So as you mentioned, Patrick, the road is a little bit of a pinch point right now. We're hoping that we'll be putting 23A back out to bid either late this month or early next month and get that project done by the end of the year. And that will allow us to put a little bit of parking out there. But we're going to need people to visit the property, to walk it, and it's a beautiful thing to do. So I just encourage all of you to continue to do that. But this will be a very, it's been a very, I think, thoughtful process, and we will continue to do that. We will continue to measure 3 times before we cut once, for sure. But the best thing that everybody can do really is, I talk to people that still haven't been out there, so encourage your friends to take a walk. So I'll stay up here. Does anyone else have any questions? You done?
No, I just along that same line, because right now, even if you walk it, you can't see a lot of it. So maybe we can do, you were just saying to Mark, maybe some more of the tours that let you see a little bit more of the property, the bridle trails, closer to the water, You understand what I'm saying? But give people the experience. I understand it's difficult. You know, it's awkward right now. But,
Right.
but it'll help people to know what you're talking about.
Right.
You know, the property a little bit better.
Right. Okay. So the walking is one thing. Maybe another thing is, I'm just thinking out loud here, maybe we, you know, I've been talking to Jim Cameron about some other things as far as filming out there goes, but maybe we have a little bit more filming. Maybe we figure out something like that. Okay. All right. Well, you all know my email, mcnally@darien.ct.gov. First, hit up Mark, then send something to me. But no, in all seriousness, I really would love to hear from any of you with all of your ideas. So, and again, thank you for letting me join your meeting. Thanks.
Thank you, Monica.
Sorry.
Thank you. So with that, is the proper
Are
terms?
there any
Are
other
there more
questions, folks? Cheryl, Russell? You went?
I just wanted to, I should have asked Monica, how long, phase one is approximately 6 months, phase 2, 5, 7 months, that's about a year or so. Phase 3 and 4, what would those, the contract, documents, and then the bid packages, how long would those take to go out between 3 and 4?
I don't know if Monica, you want to address that, because I don't know.
You know, it really will depend, Cheryl, on whatever happens up there. So this could be, I think we pencils this out as probably a 39-month project, if I remember right, but it will really depend on what people want. If people decide they just want a walking trail, it's not going to take us 31 months, so it really depends. Phase 2 and 4 will be fully dependent on what happens.
To be determined.
So it's just like,
Yep. Thank you, Cheryl. Anybody else before we, I think we're gonna, we don't adjourn, we
just say goodbye.
suspend it and reconvene at the other.
You do, I think we just
Yeah, I will.
continue.
If there's no more questions, I will, I think, determine to suspend the Public Works Committee meeting, and Channel 79 will pick it up in about 5 minutes.
We don't have to vote on any of this stuff. But, exactly. But I didn't know that when I wrote the agenda. And it's a special meeting, so it had to be on the agenda just in case. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to vote if rules had assigned it to us on Monday night.
good plan.
That's why they're there. So, and Monica just explained about the price tag for the special appropriation, which right now, it was 2 million, up to 2 million, but it's really 1,425,000 that she mentioned. So that's what'll come to the RTM.
Was this the expectation? Was this what was, I don't know if there were any expectations about the ballpark of where
The
that
range
was.
was between 900,000 and 2 million.
Yeah.
So this is,
Yeah,
this is a good,
So this is good.
range and a
Yeah.
really good company.
okay.
Yeah, so it seems. I didn't send it to you guys, but the information that was in the packet for the Board of Selectmen's meeting Monday night has a lot of the a lot of this information in it. If you want to have a look at it, talks about a lot about the company. Gets the proposal is in there, and then the reduction of the proposal.
A lot, to Adele's point, a lot of details that I think people were looking for. Like, once you read that, at least you get a feel for all the details. And then you saw where they went back and negotiated with the firm. So they were able to come down on some things. Then they added in a few other things that they, once talking to the GI group, GIAC, they realized environmental, was important. There was some remediation that we had to do, so we had to do a little focus on that. So it seems like, so it's nice to come back and have them come down on a number that they had originally given us, so that was good.
Did you say the actual proposals in the packet? The full one?
Well, I mean, can't be the...
Or the executive summary or something?
It's
like-
pretty
I
detailed.
assume, but it's
very
pretty
detailed.
detailed, yeah. Have a look. I should have sent it to you, but time got away from me. I was at baseball games last week. Sorry. Down in Virginia. So, does anybody have any other questions about it? I think she actually explained the breakout of it. Yeah, pretty well. So that's it. And the other part of this is the next item is rescinding the bonding resolution for Great Island by $11,693,633, which we don't need to vote on either. It's going to be F&B. That's a good thing. I think we've been asking, the RTM has been asking for that. That's funds that haven't been bonded or notes to bond. Let me get out the right words. From that 103
How much was
million.
it again?
Well, it's, they're gonna rescind $11,693,633. It's on your agenda.
This was 103 that we originally bought, buying it at. They negotiated it down to 85 after they figured out all the work that they needed to do. They kept in 6 and change million to do some of the work that they're doing now in terms of trying to widen things and stuff. And then that was, I think F&B and probably a lot of committees felt like, okay, then let's
Instead
rescind
of
back the 11
leaving it
million.
out there.
And they did,
Yeah.
so that's great.
Let's rescind it, yeah. The balance, so that's what we'll be doing. And they haven't bonded that, so that is, they're rescinding what they haven't bonded yet.
'Cause they did one
Or made
tranche.
notes to bond.
Yeah, they
Don't
did the
ask.
one tranche.
I'm sure,
You got it straight.
I'm sure Jack will explain it much better at our meeting. Bless him. Bless him.
Sure, I'll like you.
Do you want that in the notes? God help
Yes.
So does anybody have any questions on that? It's just good news, really. It's taking care of business, so that's good news. Updates, folks. We have some updates on any committees that people have been following.
The Memorial Day Parade went on, and the rain held out, so they did a great job.
I couldn't believe how many people were there.
Pardon
After
me?
the rain. I can't believe how many people were there.
I was walking.
I was walking, I was
Yep.
marching. And it was, I was surprised because I felt with the rain. It was wonderful.
It was,
Yeah.
because it rained earlier
Yeah.
and stuff, yeah.
There's so many Memorial Day parades in the rain. I can't tell you, the younger the kids, the longer you have to stay.
Oh, yeah. We all marched.
Okay,
Whole family marched.
Penny, did you have anything to report from beautification?
Not really, no. Just, you asked about the flags, and so they're taken care of. I guess in previous years they've had, 3 people who have donated to that. So they stepped up once again. So
Oh, that's great. So these are the flags that that go on the flag, on the flag post, right. They go on the lamppost downtown,
that's right.
and last year they were thrown away at the end of the season because they were done.
But the Board of Finance did $5,000 towards that.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and so it was put into the budget. But it looks like the folks that they've got donors again, so they won't have to
Yeah.
spend the $5,000 that are in the budget.
Another savings.
Yes,
Yeah,
Very
exactly.
okay, thank you.
Sure. Yeah, my pleasure.
Coastal Water, Susan's not here, but I know that I listened to part of their meeting, and they had a wonderful presentation for them, which I couldn't repeat to you. And but they're working on the moorings, the regs, and bless them. That's all I can say. Talking about detail. Well, you've been there. Man, I couldn't keep. I had to take a break. I haven't gone back yet to finish it. So, but yeah, they're still working on them. Great Island. Sarah, is there
I
anything?
watched them, but they were obviously caught up. Everything, there's
Yeah.
3 meetings.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
most recent one was who they picked, so.
Yeah.
The 2-hour meeting would be is when they talked about going down to the 6, and then they chucked out one. It's just all old. It's all old.
Yeah. The only thing that I heard was that they did the gate at the dock.
Oh, they put up the fencing?
Or they,
Oh, yeah, they haven't done it yet.
I think they're in process,
Yeah.
they showed them the pictures and
Yeah.
they had it, they squeezed in another meeting, I think is what they did.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I missed that one,
Yeah,
'cause, okay.
Yeah, which surprised me, because I thought they were just gonna be repeating,
Was that
when
one
they.
last week that they just did?
There was 2 of them, yeah.
Oh, Sam, okay.
Yeah,
I
that's
guess.
it. That's okay.
The purpose of that is because if people come up by boat, you could access the island through that, so they're just doing a fence to keep people off.
I gave it the dog, wraps a little bit, just to discourage folks.
So you've heard.
Exactly, I mean, they
According to
said,
the GIS said if they want to get on the island, they're going to get on the island.
that
Yeah.
was part of the discussion,
yeah.
but,
It seems now that it's Darien property, people feel they automatically have a right to go on the property or do whatever they, do on any other town property.
And not just Darien people if they're coming by water, right?
Yeah, well, you're gonna have a lot of people from all over the sound sailing into Scotch Cove every summer.
My son included.
Yeah, excuse me.
Yeah, Ziegler's Cove is packed
Yeah.
every weekend
Yeah.
with boaters.
Yeah.
And they spend the night and they come from all around. It's not just Darien residents. So,
yes, and I think that, there are cameras, but anyway, so to be continued, it's a helpful thing. What else was it? Oh, was it at a previous meeting when Monica talked about the coyotes on property?
15th of,
Yeah, that was it.
18th one.
Oh, my golly.
May 15th.
Where they had
said
their 18
people-
coyotes?
They showed on their cameras coyotes. That surprised me.
I saw them. I saw them on the first day when we walked. They were all over.
Right at the end of our
Yeah, and they were chasing deer. Yes, I saw them. They were running across. They were actually on more of the Ziegler side. They were chasing them, and the deer came this way and jumped at them.
Yeah, once you
But I mean,
start
that's
having more
nature.
people, that's-
Yeah, that's nature.
Once you have more people in the
Yeah.
function, nature tends to kind of shift a little. It's like especially when you have dogs or if you have kids.
The deer eat all the underwood.
Wonder how that'll do with the movies that's going to shot there.
Oh, yes, I just read about that.
So anyway, yeah, I think we've all heard,
If you get too close,
we're pretty much up to date on Great Island, I do believe. Yeah. And Patty, invasives.
We have met since the last meeting, and then there's a subgroup of us who are meeting with 4 different landscape designers. We've met with 2 already. We're going to meet with 2 more just because we need to, they would like us to have a little more than a sketched out plan to say this is where the plants are going to go. And, again, we already submitted the list back
Is that for
in
EPC? Is that
January
for
and all that.
EPC?
That's really because of EPC. So it's all good, like everything is, and then, money doesn't become available to buy those native tree plants, mainly native plants and a few trees until July 1st anyway with the fiscal, and so we wouldn't be planting until the fall, which was always the plan. So it's all good.
Anybody, are there any other committees? Anybody? It's going to be faster than I thought. Okay. Chairman's report. Okay, well, we have a new Park and Rec director, which is exciting. I've not met her yet. Her name is Jennifer Fava. She started last week, and we look forward to meeting her and working with her. She comes from Westport, and so everybody should come to the next commission meeting and you can meet her. Tamara's back, so that's good news for the office.
Did she have a girl or a boy? Do you know?
don't know. But she's back. Yeah. Cherry Lawn, demolition of the old playgrounds is almost complete, and the new equipment is on site, and they hope to begin installation next week, weather permitting. And the bricks are being stored for now at the DPW garage.
I would just say the bigger playground is more torn up. They're just really started on the smaller one.
But that's today, and there was. They were working on the swings.
No, they did, yeah.
And I guess those other 2 are staying, so the rest is
flag.
Yeah, the bigger,
Probably went on you.
yesterday and today, they did a lot of work on it. But the bigger one took longer because there were, those items were deeper in with the cement, right, than the other ones. So these are easier to
Yeah,
pull
look
out.
pretty,
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
Yeah,
Empty is what it looked.
they were working hard.
Yeah. Also, an irrigation pipe broke, and that's for the, takes water for the gardens. And so they're having to use, it's being replaced. And they found, I think, some budget funds that they will transfer into that item, that line item. Baker Playground. Advisory group has chosen a preferred design, so they will likely be presenting to the Park and Rec Commission at the meeting next week. And the new fence is in.
That looks good.
I keep forgetting to look at that tree.
Yeah, they just did it as a split rail, whatever you call it, lumber tan. And it looks good, and it went up, and they got it done, and easy breezy. And thank you to ARPA money for that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Reed Beach. The $25,000 were allocated from capital contingency to do three things. It's on the short lane property. The in-house, there'll be stabilization or remediation will probably start this weekend, weather permitting, I think, which means that our Park and Rec crew will be removing stumps and leveling the ground and planting some grass. And then another one of the other components is we need a planting plan from Weston and Sampson for trees and I guess shrubs. I think this is the on the edge of the property. And then Dan is to complete a plan for phasing of the complete project. So the contract his contract is awaiting Zagrodsky's signature. So that's sort of a snapshot of where they are.
I would just ask this one question. It came in significantly over budget, came in at 1.9, right? And it was thought to be coming in at 1 with the Aryan Foundation kicking in some and then us kicking in some to come in right under that mark. So it was good to, in my personal opinion, it was good to see them take their time, put it to the side from the capital budget and wait to see the bids come in. So they got a clearer feeling for it, and it was 1.9, it was almost twice as much. So I definitely think there's some things we need to do, but I was thrown off by the phasing, because to me that just means phasing the first $1 million. So this project is actually going to cost us another $1 million. I just didn't know if anybody else looked at it that way. Because if it's bid at 1.9 and it's going to cost us more by the time we start to do it next year, that feels like when we do those projects, what do you call it? You have a building committee? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's my only comment.
That's a good question to ask the commission.
That's a question. That's all.
I think the idea, but this is just my take on it, is sort of try to stay within that original estimate. The idea would be what could you do in that sort of that $1 million range,
And why is it
and then make
I totally
and then make
would
the rest of it out for the years to go. But then I would guess it's up to the commission and the
And then it'll
selectmen
continually
whether-
be in the budget.
whether they
Phase 1,
do-
Phase 2, Phase 3.
whether they do the rest of the phases or not. I don't have an answer for that.
Right.
I think that's
why the
what the
commission-
last part of the conversation was, what Mark was saying, they don't know.
This is weed, we're talking about weed right now, though.
Okay.
Okay. But it's probably the concept is similar.
The same, it's totally the same concept, but, I had the same question.
Yeah.
And about weed as well, like, how did that happen? You wind up taking so long, and then it just continues to get pushed forward because it's gonna cost more, and the longer you take, the more it's gonna cost, and it just keeps going on. How many years now?
Well, I guess you guys are more an optimist. You think it'll go through all the phases.
It might not.
Those of us are
I mean,
not
try to
quite as
get,
optimistic, you know. Yeah.
but
It's
how
a
do you
good
even get through
question to
phase
be
one?
Put out from this committee to the commission. What exactly does that phasing mean, and how, and what are they thinking? I think we need answers before the budget starts up again. So if you wouldn't mind, Adele.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Well, we can't ask it.
I'll be happy to.
Well, Patty brought it up, so it should really come from
the
Patty,
chair,
but
or-
it has to come from the
From the
chair
chair.
because we
Yeah.
all,
Sure.
Yeah. It's just a qualifying question, really. You know, we do have rules around, once you hit a certain number, there has to be a building committee, right? And so there's been a lot of work, and that's a great firm, but we also saw a lot of pushback, and 51 trees were taken down, and the whole thing, blah, blah, blah. We don't need to go into that, but I'm wondering how much it might actually cost us to do this remediation that they're talking about. So that might end up being more than we are. But that's the first thing that needs to get done. So I'm glad to see them moving forward with that.
and the trees that were taken down were where, again?
They're over to the left of the whole, the kayak area.
Oh, those
beyond
trees.
All of that
Okay.
area.
Not the trees in back of the paddle courts.
No, we're talking about
No,
that
we're only
area.
talking short lane.
Okay.
Okay. And Pear Tree Beach project. Parking lot.
Everyone
benching.
laughs.
Okay.
I felt like that too when I
Come
watched the
on.
commission
Good
meeting
job,
and Sean
Cheryl.
was there, and I feel like,
Yes,
Oh, no, I think we actually made,
Yes.
without doubt,
Yes.
we had an impact.
yes.
Without a doubt. The selectmen asked Weston and Sampson for quote to prepare a bid package. The quote was received in the last 24 hours, and it's in the, and I think I can't quote Lori Bohr on this. I was having a conversation with her this afternoon. She didn't have the information in front of her, so she said sort of in the $24,000 to $27,000 range, she thought. So, no,
$24,000 to $27,000.
to do the
range.
bid package.
Just to do the bid package.
Yes, as you remember back when, the bid pack, that was in the capital budget at one point, at 25, I believe, either 25 or 30.
oh, is it that much?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. So I believe, but I didn't go back and, I know it, I know it, and I was going like this, trying to keep it straight too, I have to tell you, so I think. So next step is funding, and that has to be decided by the Board of Finance. Capital contingency, if it came out of that, it would be, help the timing, because you do have to close the beach to do the project, but that's up to the Board of Finance. And I suspect that the commission will likely discuss the project at the next meeting.
They're not gonna wanna close that beach, and that's the only place to park, Great Island.
Bingo.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
They're not gonna wanna close that beach.
Right.
It's the only place to park for Great Island.
That's true. Right, but I wouldn't hold my breath as to how long. I don't think,
This
one might not
process is
pre.
gonna take Yeah,
Adele.
just with
So I'm
deed and
sorry.
everything else, it would take a while.
Adele.
Yeah.
Yes,
But
I don't mean to be sarcastic, and I don't want it to sound this way. I just want it to just be what's been on my mind about this. It just seems like we're on a hamster wheel on all these projects.
I know.
And again, I'm not trying to blame anyone. Maybe it's just that my vision of being on this committee, or any committee, but, was more that we were going to actually see some progress on some of these things. And again, I'm not trying to blame anybody, but what am I missing? Is it just the project? Wait, what did you say?
Sand.
Well, that too.
I did not say that. I want to make sure. That's not.
No, I mean, is it really just the process?
Wait, I missed that.
he said sand.
we're missing sand.
But is it really just the process of how this all works, or is it something that we can have some input or to be helpful in moving the process along? Is there, it's really, that's my
Pear tree
question.
specifically, or all projects?
Well, Pear
Well, watch,
Tree
I mean,
is
you
just a
can
great
definitely watch the
example.
Coastal Commission and the Advisory Board, and those guys are very looped in on some of this and giving feedback on the importance to getting it done. So,
Right.
and they're pretty detailed,
It's a bit of both, you know.
because they've been
It
out.
just seems like we've had the
silt
same
level and all
conversation
that.
how many times now? I mean, is it
Long
just
time.
me? Yeah, so
Yes,
what is the process for getting it moving forward?
Well, I think thank you, Cheryl. I think we helped the process, but with the selectmen meeting in the beginning of May it was, and really discussed it and realized that we're losing the beach, you know, really focused on that. So that was a step forward. And so
Craig
this is a continuation
Did
of
a
that.
really good job.
Just
Craig
keep-
did a great job
Yeah.
in explaining to them that, and Dan also from Weston Sampson. And time's running out. We have a permit. It costs money to get the permit. It costs money to do all this, and it's unfortunate that,
Have they mentioned the total of how much we spent thus far up to this
no,
point? If we
I have
lose
to
the
go
permit, how
back
much
and,
we just
I have to go
down?
back and
I'd
do
be
that.
curious.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that I had to vote down the Park and Rec budget because I've been on Park and Rec for eons and always have supported it. And for me to do that, and then I just voted no on everything at the budget meeting. And it's unfortunate that someone has to go that far to get something accomplished. And I'm glad we got it moved, you know, step is a little step, but at least we got a step in here. And I'm hoping if this bid package now, that the commission meets next week, correct? That they will put this on their agenda immediately, vote for this, and then move it right to the Board of Selectmen's next meeting. That way we get things moving instead of, well, let's talk about it again and and go on that wheel.
The wheel.
Kim, if you haven't seen that Board of Selectmen meeting where Craig Flaherty and
yeah.
Dan Biggs give,
It hasn't
really
been.
mainly Craig
Not
Flaherty,
as
it's
a
a big presentation, it's
Not
very
as
impressive, and you
like
can
a study
see
that costs
the selectmen,
$25,000
like John
or
was saying,
No.
this
Okay,
is,
so that's finally
this is
gonna get
important.
that
Yeah.
far.
Right.
So, that's a good sign.
Craig's
That
an
is a good
impressive
sign
guy.
compared to where we were a year ago. So if you're looking for good signs, that's a good sign.
Okay.
I mean, it helps if we go to the meetings, I have to say. And
Well, that's my other question is, does it help? I mean, I've gone to
actually think
every commission meeting since I've been on this thing.
Not just the
except for-
commission meetings, I'm just thinking, this is in the selectmen's.
You're talking about the selectmen
This is in the
meetings?
selectmen's
Yeah.
ballpark here.
Yeah,
But-
now
but-
the 25-ish bid money now is in the commission's hands, I would say. The commission should vote on that and send that to the Board of Selectmen. And the selectmen should send it to the Board of Finance, and then here we go. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But it doesn't come to the RTM, didn't they up that money?
It depends on,
But even if people can't make the meetings, it's helpful if they write the selectmen, right? And the board,
Yes.
like, again, I was talking to a neighbor and they were like, what do you mean? You know, and I feel like lots of people
Oh, yeah,
enjoy
you know.
it and
You
just
must-
assume it's fine. So I think, you know, advocacy wherever people have the capability can't hurt, right? Yeah. I'll start running my mouth.
And the best thing really to do is, if you can, speak, because we hope all the letters are shared. They're not always shared, so if you're speaking it, it's on, it's online. I mean, part of the, I'm trying to remember who does it. The Board of Ed attaches all those letters to fit, and I think maybe the Board of Finance does too. But, so, I think it's
they all
most
do.
effective. The commission does, I don't know that they do. The selectmen might, I don't, there's a lot of letters.
should do.
Anyway, be that as it may, my point is I've been watching, I'm sure you all have seen this before, like, you can be most effective when you're speaking in person, I think. Yeah, although there's been great letters written, but yeah, if you want to drive home the point, you pack the room. And you get everybody to say, let's do it.
As they say, there's safety in numbers.
We'll wear our boating gear. Or high water.
So,
Also the new director, she's gonna have a different,
Yeah.
like, she's gonna,
Yeah.
she's gotta
She's got a lot of
to catch up on.
water-related experience too, from even prior to Westport, from where she worked over in not only in a course, but also with a marina, golf course and a marina. I think that was out on Long Island somewhere.
Well, that's all I have for my report. Penny, did you have any questions? I keep forgetting to ask.
Oh, no, that's very nice. No, I'm good. It's been, it was, to be honest, kind of hard to hear the beginning part of the meeting, but I can check back with you. Yeah.
Hopefully, the recording will be easier to hear than it was, and even in the room, it was hard to hear as well.
That
But as
microphone is bad.
we learned at the Rules Committee meeting that we're supposed to get the new sound system for the auditorium, and they're supposed to put it in July. So, thank you, ARPA.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Oh, that's great news. Okay, perfect. Well, no, I don't have anything else. So
Okey-doke.
been fun listening.
Did the Rules Committee, I watched part of the Rules Committee. Did the Rules Committee decide on what time the meetings were going to be?
No, it's going to be.
No,
it's
the
gonna-
RTM will decide.
Yeah.
The RTM will
It will be
decide
It'll
on
be
the
a-
next agenda.
telling.
Not
To
this
discuss.
coming one?
Yes, it actually will be on
Will
this
be in the
agenda.
June 7:30
It'll be
or
in the June agenda.
Wait, we did the survey, right?
The survey was to get a feel for it, but it was it's not, the rules doesn't vote on people's decisions. We really decide what goes on an agenda or what doesn't, so.
So then what happens?
So now it'll come before, it's on, it'll be on the June agenda along with a number of other things. And there'll be a
And then we
discussion.
The
vote
choice will
on whether
be-
we want 7:30 or 8?
Yes.
Okay, I got it, okay.
Or maybe it'll be, do you want to change to 7:30, Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, all right.
Some language.
Yeah, and one person said, it was like, would we consider doing the budget meeting and the state of the town meeting at 7:30 and start it earlier and leave the other ones at 8? And so I was like, that wasn't what we were discussing, but if somebody brought it up, anybody can speak, at the RTM meetings and throw out different things, and then that would be, what do you call it, make an amendment. It's not
yeah,
into it,
if you,
but
if that
yeah.
was what you would rather, but yeah, no, that's, we will.
the majority of the people did say they were fine with 7:30, or they were okay with 8 o'clock, but there were only, this was what was important to me for our district, for District 1, because I knew we had several people who had commuted from pretty far down in the district, or down by Wall Street, whether they would have to no longer be part of the RTM as a result. And so there were only 3 out of everybody that couldn't do that.
Also, as somebody pointed out, all the committee meetings like ours right now start at 7:30. So these
Yeah.
same people, if they are going to their assigned committee meetings, are there at 7:30. So
Right.
I don't think the 8 o'clock thing
Yeah.
has that much weight.
We'll see.
Yeah. That affects like you guys, putting kids to bed and stuff like that. Is it easier? Is it harder?
Oh, the last thing on the agenda is to approve the minutes from the April meeting. Does anybody have any corrections? They're superb
Well
minutes.
done, really well
Yeah.
done. Very good.
I have Lincoln, very good job.
And helpful, particularly when it's a big budget meeting like that, to go be, if anybody ever has a
painful.
question.
Yes, I'm like, Adele gets more credit than me, but yeah.
But even next year, as we're prepping for the budget, we'll be
Yeah.
able to pull the minutes easily and be able to see that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Cheryl Russell, second.
Me.
Kim, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. All right, that's the last thing on our agenda, so may I have a motion to adjourn? So moved. Sue Ellen? Carrie? All in favor? Aye.